It's the 11th of December 2024, and I've woken up to some headlining news. The MVP of the Rio Major, Jame, has been benched on Virtus Pro. I wasn't really sure what to think. The general consensus at the time of Jame's benching was, are we even surprised? For a long time, I felt that VP had lost their identity and that Electronic would eventually take over as in-game leader. Even Jame's identity as a player looked different, perhaps because it wasn't really his team anymore. Remember the Star Ladder Berlin Major in 2019? Jame and his long-standing core of himself, Buster and Kickit surprised everyone when they reached the grand finals. What about when Jame won the IEM Rio Major in 2022, alongside Kickit, Flit, Norbert and Fame? It was an incredible run, beating Fnatic in the quarters, Mouse in the semis, and Heroic in the final. What went so wrong? Throughout the years, VP changed many pieces. So many pieces that they eventually became an entirely different team. By the time that Jame was kicked towards the end of 2024, Kickit, Norbert, and the head coach of Dastan had all been kicked. And now, Jame's time has finally come. The question on everybody's mind was, is this it? Will his career fade away without a fight? No. Just after 33 days, the headline read, Jame has joined PARIVISION. On first impression, most people that watched top tier CS would have thought, man, what a step down. You've gone from playing Tier 1 CS for the last 6 years to playing in the den of online Tier 3 CS. But if you followed Tier 2 closely, you'd know that this move could be unreal. Let's start with the connections. Jame reunited with his old teammate Kickit, who happens to be in-game leading PARIVISION. This was a shock to everyone in Tier 2, as the expectation was that Jame would be AWPing and in-game leading this team. With Jame and Kickit together, you need one more piece for a core, and PARIVISION had one waiting. The head coach of Dastan. This brings back the core that placed second at the Berlin Major and won the Rio Major. This starts to feel like old VP. Successful VP. They combine this experienced core with 3 new players, hungry to prove themselves. Belchnok, a star anchor and lurker. Nota, an aggressive, insanely good 17-year-old talent. And Travis, a consistent and reliable player. Creating a completely new roster in CS2 is notoriously difficult. Due to Valve's ranking system, as I talked about in my video, Valve is killing Tier 3 Counter-Strike. Despite the risk, PARIVISION created a brand new core in 2025, but the gamble paid off as they got their VRS rank right on their first open qualifier. They simply just kept winning. This team has been together for just over 2 months, and in that time, they won CCT Season 2 Europe Series 16, placed second in the Res Showdown Spring, and placed 3rd to 4th in CCT Season 2 Europe Series 20. They have beaten some proper threats in Tier 2, such as Spirit Academy, Nemega, Bait, Gamer Legion, Heroic, 9Pandas twice, BC Game twice, Aurora, Fnatic, and Big. Remember Jame time, right? Stylistically, Virtus Pro were notorious for being mega slow and passive on their T sides, and saving so frequently in man disadvantages on their city side. You might, again, expect these traits to carry over to PARIVISION, but in fact, they haven't. They have a lot more faith in recovering rounds and attempting retakes on their city side. The more I've cast at PARIVISION, the more belief I get that this is Kickit's system and not Jame's. The philosophy of the approach on how to play CS is similar with the passive playstyles, but different in the percentage-based CS that Jame used to call. We all remember how painfully slow Jame used to call on VP. I'd rather be watching paint dry than watch their T-side defaults with how slow it was. It's obvious that it's different. Even the stats show it. For example, in the Major Grand Final, the old VP played on their T-side just 2 fast gun rounds out of 10. That's just 20%. But when I've analysed 3 random PARIVISION games, the numbers were 30%, 40%, even 50% against Aurora just recently. Alright, but the most important thing, are they even good? Let's take a look. They have been together for just over 2 months, and in that short time span, they look more drilled and display stronger fundamentals than most of the other teams that I frequently cast in Tier 2. In every situation, it is obvious that they always aim for team play. Let me show you 2 examples that showcase the speed of their ability to coordinate moves and let them gain the advantage and win rounds. It's a 4v5. PARIVISION have decided to take a 3-man gamble on B, and it's the wrong call as Sinners have decided to go A. But Jame has a plan. He has chosen a special position that allows him to get 2 free shots, immediately hide and wait for his teammates. They instantly read the misdirection that Jame's presence has created, and they run into action to take Jules. This creates furthermore chaos, and of course Jame doesn't hesitate and capitalizes on it by re-peeking and gaining another kill. Jame could have very easily ego-swung Donut again on the wrong timing. Most AWPers would have, but he waits. He's patient. He knows how to play by the book. That's why, in just 5 seconds, PARIVISION recover a 4v5 disadvantage to a 4v2 advantage. It's the fine details that they execute with such quality. Again, even as a squad that's been together for just 2 months. Let me point out another situation. The round begins with PARIVISION having a focus on taking mid-heavy. Jame throws the insta-elbow smoke, and Nota throws both an incendiary and a HE. Belchnock and Jame then double flash mid with the intent to take space and fight aggressively. While this is happening, there's an unorthodox fourth piece to the puzzle. Travis sprints into Cheetah, smokes off lane so he can fight with them from shelf. Snappy does well to come out elbow solo with double flashes from spawn to get the opening kill against Nota. With Donut being smoked, Snappy is expecting Belchnock to swing wide and force the trade frag, but Belchnock knows better. Travis and Belchnock immediately coordinate a bait setup, where Belchnock hides in the smoke while Travis runs up and surprises Snappy, getting an easy kill and forcing it back to a 4v4. It might seem subtle, but these small differences, when repeated consistently, can easily elevate a team above the competition. But what about Jame? In 2024, Jame averaged a 1.03 rating on HLTV. Since joining PARIVISION, Jame has averaged a 1.17 rating. So what's changed? Well, for a start, he's playing against much weaker competition. Of course, an experienced Tier 1 AWPer is going to farm against pod bots in Tier 2 and Tier 3. But is that the only reason? No, I don't think it is. The main reason why Jame individually is playing so well is that he's changed his playstyle, or perhaps Kicket's changed it for him. Jame has freedom to be set up by his teammates to work opening picks. This is something that we didn't see frequently on Virtus Pro. For example, on Anubis City side, time and time again, I actually see him stay mid, often holding it aggressively. On VP, he would usually rotate much earlier, giving up the space, but here he often stays. Here, the round begins with Jame pre-smoking the fast doors molly, and is flashed by Kicket to go for an aggressive peek. Jame then holds on the edge of the smoke, waiting for a contact. Nothing happens, and he slightly pulls back. It seems that he is giving up mid, but here comes the shift of mentality. The enemy re-smokes house, trying to push them out, but they decide to quickly respond with counter-aggression, not giving up any space. They hold, and eventually, Jame goes for further map control by peeking down deep mid. This allows Kicket to rotate and double up on A with Belchnock. In the second example, PARIVISION has struggled to adapt to Na'Vi Jr. and they need a change-up. The call is to take mid as 3. Elbow is insta-smoked and the CTs put heavy anti-rush util down towards Elbow. Jame solo jumps to shelf with the intent to win an opening fight. He notices that Cave is smoked, so he tries to HE the smoke to force an AWP duel. Unfortunately, he gets mollied, so he has to abandon the plan. But despite a string of failures, we still don't see him running away from danger. He remains deep in risky territory, holding an aggressive angle towards Elbow. After the molly fades, we see him flirt with the idea of peeking down aggressively once again. But due to the flashes flying around him, he realizes that a T is likely close shelf and makes the smart decision of pulling back. But even so, he doesn't run away completely. He takes much more aggressive angles than we'd expect from his past. I hope these examples have illustrated the dedication that he is showing towards becoming a more balanced, more aggressive AWPer. Jame is trying to be more impactful in early rounds. He isn't just focusing on staying alive at all costs anymore. On Virtus Pro, Jame was really passive on the CT side, always rotating around the map, filling in the gaps and setting up utility for his teammates. For him, this is a new chapter, AWPing without in-game leading. Jame's individual form has never been better. With all of the leadership qualities stripped from him, all he needs to focus on now is himself, and how he can be one of Tier 2's best AWPers, and how he can push this team to Tier 1. I also believe that there is a lot of hunger and drive in the entirety of PARIVISION. Kicket was benched on VP, sent to play with ITB on loan, and then wasn't even recalled when the loan expired. For an inexperienced in-game leader, Kicket wants to take PARIVISION to Tier 1, and prove that he can call at the highest tier of CS. For Belchnock and Travis, they don't even know what Tier 1 CS is like. They have been grinding in the den of Tier 2 for years and years with very little success. This is their time to prove that their hard work does pay off, that they can be Tier 1 caliber players. And finally, for the young 17-year-old Nota, this has got to feel like a dream. From farming in Tier 3 to working with some of the best names in the CIS region and to be given all of the star positions too. All of the resources. This incredible rifler is the future, and it's only a matter of time until he proves it on LAN and versus Tier 1 teams. I believe PARIVISION are currently a top Tier 2 team and will advance into the Tier 1.5 conversation within the next 6 months. Now, this might be a bit of a hot take, but I believe that this team will qualify to the Blast Austin Major. I also believe that with the experienced pieces that PARIVISION have, that they will have what it takes to regularly upset Tier 1.5 teams on LAN. Do not sleep on PARIVISION, they will be a real threat over the next few months. Thank you so much for all of your support and comments on my previous video talking about the VRS system and the Tier 3 teams. I really hope today that this PARIVISION video has given you a little bit more insight to some of the lower divisions in CS. I hope you like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.